JOYCE and Derek Chisora has just been announced as a fight for sometime in July. What do you make of that?
Interesting, because CHISORA, is deemed to be past his best, and JOYCE didn't look terrific in his last fight. And playing the devil's advocate, I'm going to say Derek Chisora.
Interesting. And the last one, a big fight this weekend, rematch. You mentioned him earlier. Josh Taylor is taking on Jack Catterall. Obviously, a lot of debate about the first fight. Most people thought Jack Catterall should have won. Obviously, caused a lot of controversy, but they're fighting each other finally after almost 2 years. What do you think?
A lot of time's gone on, hasn't it, between the first fight, and I personally think that for that fight, Josh Taylor probably just overlooked Jack Catterall.
He said he never made the weight properly as well.
I don't think. Look, this might come as a shock to most boxing fans. Not many fighters do make the weight properly, because making the weight is just an end to him. It means to an end. It's like, well, I've made that weight now. I've seen people go to a weigh-in, make the weight, and have a can of Coke and a bar of chocolate. That's how much the weight matters to them. There's been other fighters I've been around who, they've made the weight. I once remember when Ricky Hatton boxed John Thaxton, and it was well documented that Ricky always crashed the weight off and never, was always off the, overweight, and always had to get a load of weight off and dry himself out. It's well documented. And we're in Wembley and he boxed John Thaxton, and we were driving down through Wembley, going back to the hotel, and Ricky Hatton was sat in a kebab shop with Billy Graham, ready for a kebab after he'd weighed in. Now, you can imagine John Thaxton looking at that and thinking, Jesus, like John Thaxton was an highly disciplined athlete, everything meticulously, marked out, his food, everything, OCD to the ninth degree. And when you realise what you've been through to get yourself fit, and what sacrifices you've had to make, and the dietary changes and everything else, and then you see somebody going into a kebab shop and eating a kebab after a weigh-in, you're thinking, what's that all about? It can play on people's minds, but that's how it was. It was a tremendous fight. It was a life and death. They both ended up on a stretcher afterwards. And maybe the difference, even though Ricky Hatton was a really good fighter, John Thaxton was a good fighter, probably not on the level of Ricky Hatton, but the adjustments he made in his life, the training he did, the nutrition, the strength, everything, the way he trained, probably got him through a very close fight. If he'd have done it wrong, he probably wouldn't have lasted 6 rounds. And then you have to think, well, and Ricky said this himself, what would Ricky Hatton have been? What would a more disciplined version of Ricky Hatton have achieved? He was a world champion right up there with Manny Pacquiao and Floyd. They boxed each other, it was a points. When they boxed him, it was a kind of demolition job. And it's got to haunt Ricky, and he's got to ask himself the question, if I'd have been more disciplined, how would it have turned out? Because fighters do, they question it. So it's horses for courses, everybody's different, very few fighters. So getting back to Josh Taylor about, and this is my short reply by the way, is I don't think Josh Taylor ever makes the weight right. I don't think a lot of fighters do, because they think, well, it doesn't really matter. I can fight, I can scrap, and it's the way I've always done it. But what happens is you can do it when you're younger. You can get away with it. As you get older, it becomes harder and harder. So what you are still doing the same thing at 30 years old that you're doing at 25, but your physical capability is totally different. Your powers of recovery, you can't just turn it on. And that's why, because people don't really adjust. I always remember talking to Cole Frotch, and Cole Frotch used to have everything down in a notepad, write everything he did. I did this run at this, so many weeks out at this speed, this many rounds. I ate this food, did it. He says, and the only time I really changed it is when I boxed George Grove the first time. Changed it, and look what happened. And I went back to the way I did it, and I was meticulous. That's what you have to do in boxing.
So does Josh Taylor avenge it? Well, no, I'm using the word avenge.
Difficult to say. I'm not even going to give a result on that. I always go back to the thing, to the way I predict things, and say the best version of Josh Taylor, the very best version of Josh Taylor, beats the very best version of Jack Catterall, because Josh Taylor has boxed better fighters, I think. So the best, but it depends. Is the best version of each fighter going to turn up? Look at we've already had a pull out with the eye. Is that significant in the sense that, well, he's getting older and he's more prone to injury. There's little things happening. He's getting caught with shots. That's why he's had the eye. Who knows? You know, has he been living his life good outside the ring in that 2 years? As Jack Catterall had the bit between his teeth thinking, I've just got to wait my time. If I keep disciplined, I'll beat him. It depends how they come into the fight. But on ability level and what they've done in the past fight-wise, measuring them, who they've fought, where they've been, you know, I would say Josh Taylor at his very best will be the very best of Catterall. But it depends who turns up on the night.
Right, well, I think we're a few days away from the fight. Let's see what happens. Dom, as always, thank you for your time. Any last words before I let you go?
No, it was good to be out in Riyadh. You know, see it after all this time watching it on TV and actually getting in there. I don't go to big fights, to be honest. I just don't go. But I'm glad I went to that one because it kind of puts everything into perspective. What you just see, how much different it is from what you see on TV and all the YouTube channels, everybody covering it. You don't get the big picture. And if anybody gets the chance and there is a big fight, I would advise them to take that trip. I don't do them kind of trips. I'm not a massive boxing fan in that way. But I would advise people if they're going to go and see a fight, and if it's Usyk or a big fight, and it's in Saudi. I mean, what have we got planned? We've got the 5v5.
That's next week.
And what have we got after that? Have we got anything else planned?
I think it would be Fury Usyk 2.
If that happens, or when's Joshua out next?
Joshua is Wembley, I believe. Wembley, yeah, September 21st. If the rumour is true,
it's worth a trip. It's no, I won't look back and say that it was a waste of time. I wish I hadn't done it. It was 100% worth. I mean that arena holds what, 20,000?
Yeah,
it's massive, but it doesn't seem massive. That's the thing. It was packed. It was a big venue, but it felt good, to be honest. And I've been to some big arenas. It was good. Listen, it was exciting. Everybody's on the edge of the seats, watching it, and the screen, how it was positioned, it was good. So it was just well organised.
Yep, Saudis don't mess about, and credit to the guys at Seller and part of the GA that put these events together. Dom, appreciate your time. Thank you very much. I'll see you soon.